All right, welcome to day 3 of me trying to get my life together through podcasting every day. Is that possible? I don't know. What I do know is this experiment, it feels like it's kind of working. I was watching a bunch of videos on YouTube about how to have a successful YouTube channel, and a lot of people are saying just post every day, and that discipline turns into momentum. And I have to say, it does feel like something is happening internally inside of me. Now, that might just be because normally I live alone. I spend all day alone, and I don't say anything to anybody. And I don't know if that is healthy. I think it's actually probably not healthy. And so maybe this is a simulacrum of some sort of relationship. And yeah, I listened to the episode I recorded yesterday. Not good. I can say that for sure. Not good. But I listened to it and I was like, you know what? There was a very few parts that were interesting. And normally I've been recording these episodes with other people. That's the other thing. Right now, I'm trying to get rid of and like from my vocabulary, because the episode I recorded yesterday was so bad. And I am going to release it because this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make some sort of exposure therapy for me just putting stuff out there online. I have a very weird relationship with content because obviously you want it to do well. You want a bunch of people to look at it. You want that validation of going, hey, I'm a person online. And, I've been doing stand-up comedy for a very long time, 15 years, and career's not really where I wanted to be. And you know what? So the idea, again, maybe I would clarify this idea before, but the idea with this is hopefully I'm going to stay motivated. Because that's my problem is I'll have a little bit of motivation and then I'll backtrack. A little bit of motivation, I'll get on my stuff and then I'll backtrack. And it's because, it's the same thing with alcoholism is, when you're first quitting, you quit and then, 3 weeks go by and you go, was it that bad? Was my life really that bad? Because it was. You forget about the last thing you did. It was terrible. But 3 weeks go by and life moves on, right? And I feel like that's the same thing with motivation, where it's like I'll get depressed. I'll be like, man, what am I doing with my life? And then I'll get motivated. I'm like, I'm really going to make a change. But then eventually you're just at home and you go, do I need to change? Is my life that bad? I'm fine, right? Like are people doing so much better than me? And then you'll listen to, a podcast about some homeless guy or whatever. And you're like, I'm killing it. I'm doing great. But I'm not, So this is an experiment. And the idea with this is like Alex Hormozy, right? Is I'm going to be doing this every day and then, sharing my journey with you guys. And then in, a year from now, 2-3 years from now, when I'm like so successful, you guys can go back and look like, oh, here's how he did it. He had struggles. He was a common man, just like us. Now he's so famous and successful, and he's dating Sydney Sweeney. That's amazing. Also, so I have a lot of crazy spiritual beliefs that I believe, and I'll read about them and I'll listen to podcasts about them, but then I don't really talk about them because they sound crazy. It's a lot of just sort of basic law of attraction stuff, manifestation stuff. I listen to a lot of Bashar, which I don't like saying that out loud. Don't like telling people that I listen to a channeled alien, but I do. And I conceptualize these beliefs, but I don't actually put them into practice. And I feel like just making this podcast and putting it out there is a form of actually putting my beliefs in practice, taking action. Because I would love to have a very successful podcast where I interview people who I find interesting, and I would like it to be the Joe Rogan of the left that everyone's been calling for, the Canadian Joe Rogan of the left. And so this is what I'm doing. This is the podcast. This is the journey. Hopefully someone else listens to this and is inspired. I take a lot of inspiration from these people who are like, hey, when you first start putting content out, I don't know why that was so hard to say. People aren't going to watch. It's not going to be good. You're not going to listen. And Alex Hormozy was talking about, when he first started, he would have like 7 YouTube views. And he was like, well, but if I was in a room with 7 people, that's not bad. But I was wondering to myself yesterday, I was like, did YouTube, and I don't think they did YouTube have the analytics that they have now, where it's like, yeah, I got 23 views on my first video, but then you can see how long each person watched for, and yeah, not good. But the thing is, I wouldn't even watch the content at this point. And the weird thing about podcasting is like, is it something that you can get better at? So much in life, especially creative stuff, it feels like if you're playing guitar, you can get better at guitar. You practice guitar, you get better at guitar. But stuff like writing or podcasting, it's like, how do you get better at that? You just do it. And then I think you have to trust. That's why I do listen to all of these, because I think you have to listen and go, what did I find interesting? And so what I'm working on right now is not having and actually saying whatever I'm saying with conviction. And I feel like I'm doing a better job of it. But again, I have talked about 7 minutes so far about nothing except what I'm doing, which is what this podcast is. And so let's get into some topics of baby. Today, woke up in a good mood, which when you're diagnosed bipolar, waking up in a good mood, always a little scary. If you wake up and you're like, man, life's great. Uh-oh. And then if I haven't been too concerned with money lately, I'm in debt, but I'm like, you know what? Everyone's in debt. Maybe I should buy a video camera. Oh no. I've been feeling very connected spiritually. This is the weird thing about being manic that bipolar don't really tell normal people, is that the things you realize when you're manic, you still kind of believe them when you're not manic. You just realize you shouldn't share those thoughts with people. I believe most of the stuff still. A lot of it was, the thing about being crazy is it's not that your thoughts are incorrect. It's that they're inappropriate for day-to-day life. You realize this about being insane. A lot of people who are like, talking to spirits or whatever, you see them walking down the street and they look crazy because they're talking to someone who's not there. That thing is probably there. They are actually probably connected to some sort of spiritual entity that is terrorizing them. But the reason they seem crazy is because they can't let it go, Like, the difference between a crazy person and a religious person, very thin. Most people on this planet are religious, and they believe in direct communion with God. Mormons believe that, I think Muslims do, maybe some. A lot of Christians, a lot of religions think that they can interact with God. The only difference between that person and someone in the psych ward is the person in the psych ward can't stop interacting with God or demons, but a lot of religious people believe in demons too. So it's not like the line between insanity and sanity. All it is if you can just seem normal. It has nothing to do with what you believe or what you think. It's just, can you seem normal? So, but yeah, I don't think I'm bipolar. I don't think I'm manic. Sometimes you're just in a good mood. Honestly, I think this podcast has been helping. But then again, you go, okay, well, I'm a lot of more creative output. Uh-oh. But no, I think I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Okay, another topic. Wanted to talk a bit more about emotional avoidance. Now, I was thinking about this yesterday, where I've been talking to this girl, and I don't even want to say, on the off chance she listens to this. So I will devoid this from any context. I'm talking to multiple girls right now. So if you are listening to us and you're one of them, hey, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a different one. But I don't think I have what it takes to be in a relationship. And this is, it's so weird to tell as you get older. It's like, what is pathology and what's just your personality? Like, maybe I'm just a guy who can't exist inside of a relationship, and maybe that's fine. Maybe that's, why do poly people, why is that like an orientation? Why is that something, people, oh, you want to have 9 relationships? How about I'm incapable of 1? And maybe I just live with that, because first off, dating, I don't think I've ever done that. I've never really dated. I've been on, I think, 2 dates in my life, and I can only remember one. Sorry. Oh, fuck. I'm trying to get rid of us. I should pinch myself or donate $5 to Israel. Just to really make me regret it. I'm just kidding. And if anyone's listening and is pro-Israel, you're wrong, but whatever. Okay. So I should delete that part from the podcast so I don't get demonetized by the people who run YouTube. Whatever. Anyways, what was I talking about? Emotional avoidance. Yes. So am I the kind of person who can be in a relationship? Maybe that's not pathology. But so this is my problem with dating and gender roles, is the man is expected to make an effort, right? And the whole traditional dating thing is like a man wants to sleep with a woman, and so a man will take her on a date and buy her stuff or whatever, and then the woman will decide whether or not she's going to let that man sleep with her. And I don't think that works anymore, because I've slept with too many women that I'm like, I don't care. It's not, that's not like a prize to me. If I want that, I can just go sleep with someone. It's not. And so, but a lot of women still have that idea of like, I want this guy to like, go out and treat me nice and do all this stuff. And it's like, I don't want to. Because why, like, I want to meet someone on, like, an equal level. Also, my other problem is actually whenever I do develop a crush on someone, complete inability to be cool. Because this is this is the problem. I don't know if women are aware of this. This is the red pill part of the podcast. Don't say, oh, you idiot. Just when you're not like super into a woman, they like you more. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, because men don't have that. Men, we decide how much we like a girl based on, maybe a lot of it's superficial attraction, how good looking she is. I think every woman and man sort of understands that life is not fair. It's biased towards hot people, but there's nothing. Like, if a girl's really into us, we're like sick, But with the women, it's just like the more you like a girl, the less they tend to be into you. And you know what? Maybe that's my own experience. I think anytime people start talking about women are like this, men are like this, it's always very biased by your own trauma, your own psychology, and all this stuff. But in my experience, and I think a lot of guys' experience, the more you're into a girl, the less she likes you. But also, I mean, it's because I think a lot of guys, myself included, we have self-esteem issues, right? And so if you really like a girl, you act kind of lame around them. And at least that's my case. When I'm like really into like a pretty girl, I'm like, whereas if I meet a girl who like, I'm not like, oh, I'm crazy about her, it's very easy for me to be like calm and confident and charming, because I don't care. I don't care about the outcome. Whereas when I meet a girl, I'm like, oh my God, she's so cool. Then I lose the ability to speak or form coherent sentences because I'm just like, I want her to like me. And then everything that happens is going through this film of I want her to like me. And so when I do meet someone like that, I just don't even approach. I don't even try because I'm like, this isn't going to work. I like you. This isn't going to work, and obviously that is my issue. That's my own self-esteem. Trying to work on that, trying to get better on it, and whatever. And also the other thing is like, even when I do like a girl, I am such an emotional avoidant that when I do like a girl and then there's any chance she might like me back, immediately in my head I go like, oh no, what if she wants to spend time with me? What am I going to do? What if I can't spend 19 hours a day completely by myself? Uh-oh. That's what goes through my head. The second there's a chance that I might be able to have a relationship, I go, oh no, she might expect me to occasionally hang out with her. The only time I want a relationship is like after a show or like coming home from a trip. And I'm just going home to be by myself, like hanging out. Because when you're on a trip, you're around other people. And so like I can't indulge in my need to isolate from others. And then I realize like after, if I've gone like on a road trip with other comedians or, gone on the road or gone on tour. And then I go, I actually like being around people. I actually enjoy people. But then I go home and I go, oh yeah, I spend 95% of my time on this planet completely alone. And I go, it would be nice to have a girlfriend. But then if I get into a situation where maybe I could have a girlfriend, I go, oh no, she's going to take away my personal time in which I don't really do anything and just sort of stare or look at my phone, but feel like there's something I need to be doing. That's like just a permanent part of my soul. It's just like, I need to figure it out. I've been trying to let go of that. And I think that might be the key to me finding my career goals and actually attaining them. Is I walk around all the time with this sense that I need to be doing something, that there's something I need to be doing, that I need to get somewhere that I haven't quite gotten yet. And there's a combination, there's a combination lock on my heart. And if I figure it out and if I spend enough time on my own figuring it out, then I'll unlock it and I'll finally be able to be happy. And I think what I need to is let that go. And I think this podcast thing is actually helping. Again, not going to release the data on who's watching this or for how long, because that's not what is important. What is important is self-expression. And I feel like this is helping me to express myself a little bit. And hopefully it helps one of you. And again, this is a time capsule. So in 1 year from now, when I've done this every day, and not just retreated. Because I'll be honest, even right before this, I went, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? No one's watching. No one cares. Who cares? Why? Why would I? And then, but it's not a long step from there to why do anything? Why would I do anything? And stand-up, I think a lot of stand-ups, you get sort of perfectionism because stand-up is psychologically traumatizing, especially at first, because you're on stage in front of a bunch of people and then you tell a joke and it doesn't work and that feels very bad. And then you go inside your head and then it starts to feel worse. Like I've had some bombs where you're just like, I would rather be anywhere else but here. More so towards the beginning of my career, because towards the end, it's like, it's common enough that, and you realize that like bombing is, it is healthy. Bombing is a healthy part of stand-up. If you're always crushing, you're hack. If you're always crushing, you're hack. I'm sorry. If every set you do, you're great, you're hack. Because how are you growing? How are you moving beyond the parameters of what you're already able to do? And a lot of people, I see them crush every time. And I go, heck, anyways. Emotional avoidance. Yeah, I think we covered that for the day. These are some topics probably going to be circling around a lot back to. And I really hope there's an emotional avoidant out there listening to this who goes, you know what? Yeah, he didn't really solve anything or even answered the questions he asked. But yeah, I get it. You know, that's what it's like for me, is just being like, hey, I got a lot going on and I need to think about it. I need to think about it constantly and never resolve anything. That's what it's like being inside my head. It's just, I need to think about this. I need to think about this right now and forever and never resolve, never get to the bottom of it. But I need some time to think about it. I just need a lot of time to think about this and never figure anything out. And so that's what I'm trying to let go of, because I'm trying to get to a state where it's like, hey, life is just play. And I hate that word. I hate the word play because it has been colonized by sex freaks. And when I was, in my late 20s, there was a period where I was like, maybe I'll be a sex freak. And I started listening to podcasts where these people would talk about being sex freaks, and they're like, yeah, it was this couple, and the wife and husband would say to each other, oh, I saw you playing with him, and ooh, and I hate, now the word play is disgusting. I don't even like looking at boomboxes because it says play on it. That's stupid. Boomboxes don't exist. So play, bad word. What was I talking about? Yeah, well, but anyways, trying to get into a spiritual state where I am just chill, and I don't feel this need to get somewhere, because that's always going on in my mind, is I got to get somewhere. And why? Where do I got to get? There's nowhere. My life is actually pretty chill, I have a job I don't hate. I'm doing stand-up. It is progressing. Seemingly, it seems too slow for me, and I do think I need to make a change, and so this is what this is, and I hope someone listens, and I do feel like this is better than yesterday. And again, I don't know what this is going to be. I still need to figure that out, but hey, if you're listening, sick, Okay, so emotional avoidance covered in the tank. Let's get into current events. The N-word at the BAFTAs. Now, this is, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was a guy who had Tourette's, and he was nominated for some awards at the BAFTAs for this movie he had called I Swear, which is a very funny title for a guy with Tourette's. Anyways, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage, and this guy yelled the N-word. And then because of that word having so much power, it became a news cycle, but it just kind of seemed like it just seems like manufactured outrage, because who are you going to be mad at? It reminded me of the Bo Burnham and now Phoebe Bridgers song, where I forget the title of the song, but there's a line in it. Oh, That Funny Feeling. There's a line in it that says the backlash to the thing that's just begun. And that's exactly what it was. It was, of course, you say that word, it's going to make the news, right? Someone yells the N-word at the BAFTAs, it's going to be in the news. It can't not be in. What, are you just going to not put that in the news? You gotta. And I think everyone's struggling for a take on it, but there's no take. It was just a thing that happened. Because there's people going like, hey, he shouldn't have said that. And it's like, yeah, maybe don't invite that guy to the award. But even still, it's like, well, he won. He has a disability. Or he was nominated. What you can say, sorry, we loved your movie, but you can't come to the BAFTAs because you might yell the N-word. Which maybe they should have. I don't know. I'm not saying, whatever. But then the people who are getting mad at the people who got mad at him saying the N-word, being like, you're ableist or whatever. And then there was even another layer on top of that who are getting mad about the fact that there was a controversy in the first place, which is, I guess, what I'm doing. But it just seems like nobody cares. We're all just pretending to care about stuff. And this is so, I don't know. I'm not even sure what I'm saying. It's just like, shut up. Everyone just shut up. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. Again, very ironic what I'm doing right now. But it's... Okay, so I'm going to take my own advice. Who cares? Not going to talk about it anymore. Anyways, one more topic I wanted to get into. It was just on Facebook, and there's this guy who... So occasionally I'll get sobriety content, and the only thing I think more annoying than people who say everyone who has ever had a drinking problem needs to be in AA are the people who are like super anti-AA. And, they'll be like, oh, it's a cult or whatever. And it's like, is it a cult? Yeah, a little. But that's fine. It is super helpful for a lot of people. And they always sort of cite the same silly statistics, being like, oh, it only works for 3% of people. It's like, well, that might even be accurate based on how many people ever go to one AA meeting. But it's like, it obviously helps a lot of people. And I think when you're newly sober, every newly sober person kind of thinks they're an expert on alcoholism because you are an alcoholic. And then if you get sober, it's something that's so difficult to do that you do feel like you're kind of a genius. Because well, I did it. I finally did it. I'm not drunk. I haven't had a drink in 3 months. And you feel like there's this huge accomplishment, which it is. But at the same time, you didn't do anything. In fact, that was your problem. All you had to do was not do something. And I've always said this about sobriety, is it's very hard to conceptualize not doing something. That's why people go to AA. That's why people go to 12-step meetings and stuff, is because you have this problem, right? And you're trying to deal with it, but the only thing to do is to not do something, which is like, how do you not do, if you have a problem, if you're overweight, all right, my phone ran out of storage. Maybe that's a sign for me to just stop the podcast now. But all I was saying is with sobriety is, sobriety is all about not doing something. It's about not drinking. And that's hard for the human mind to conceive, especially if you're an alcoholic, because like I was saying, if you're overweight, there's things you have to do. Start calorie tracking, go to the gym, eat different food, buy different food. If you're trying to get sober, all you have to do is not do something, And so I think people just come up with all these weird theories about whatever, sobriety. Okay. And all right. I think I covered almost everything I wanted to talk about. Again, I feel like I'm getting a little bit better at, just riffing, just having a time, The one last thing I had written on here, which I guess I'll talk about, because maybe these podcasts are 30 minutes, maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's a 30-minute episode. The Canadian HRTC laws, there was a non-binary person who took a salon to the Human Rights Tribunal Council in Canada because the salon on their website had only pricing for male haircut or female haircut. And the non-binary person took them to a Human Rights Tribunal Council in Quebec and was awarded $500, which, come on. What are you doing? What are we doing as a country? Hey, I know that a lot of non-binary people are people who just feel uncomfortable with the concept of gender in the first place. And I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you're not just a very cynical person trying to get money or attention. And so I'll say the only chance that you're not that is because you're a little bit autistic. And that's how uncomfortable you feel with stuff. And so I'm going to give you some advice from one person who often feels autistic in my inability to, just chill and relax and not have social anxiety. So one person who also struggles with human communication. Just let it go. Just let it go. You're not helping the movement. You're obviously not helping the movement if you do that. I think a lot of people are going to see that and go, you know what? That's so annoying. I think we should take gay marriage back. And that's not your fault. But it is going to happen. So non-binary people, calm down. I mean, it's not all of you. This one person, calm down. Relax. There was another guy. There was a principal, a school district. Again, I don't want to get into this because my whole thing is like I'm pro, gender expression or whatever, trans people. So I don't want to be the guy who's like, it's stupid. So maybe I won't. But yeah, there was a principal or some school district guy who's being fined $750,000 for saying there was like two gender. I don't know. This country, we have real problems. And we're not really focusing on any of those. I think, this just seems like the Canadian government just trying to distract us. It's a distraction. Anyways, aliens are real. They're coming soon. I think they're going to sort everything out.